Good evening, viewers and listeners. Welcome to another edition of Serving the People, brought to you every Wednesday at 6 p.m. by the Democratic Republican Party, of which I am the founder and the leader. Please let us start with a word of prayer. Dear Father in heaven, do bless our viewers with inspiration as they see the work of our DRP, and may they support us for good governance in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. In Jesus' name, amen. And now, dear viewers, I'm Anesia Baptiste, and this evening I would like to share with you footage from a presentation I made in Grenada, where I was invited by the women's arm of the National Democratic Congress, the NDC, that's the opposition political party in Grenada. Their women's arm invited me to give the feature speech at a symposium they held for International Women's Day, which was on Saturday night, the 8th of March, 2014. Take a look and enjoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome Ms. Anesia Baptiste to the podium to share with us. Thank
you. Thank you, Jennifer, and with the protocol having already been established, and although it has been established, I would like to recognize some of the familiar faces that I see here today. So pardon me if I go over it a bit. I think it is important. President of the Women's Arm of the NDC, Jennifer Simon-Rapier, and the Executive of the Women's Arm of the NDC, Political Leader, Senator the Honorable Nazim Berg, Deputy Political Leader Mr. Joseph Andal, and his wife, and also Mr. Berg's wife. I also recognize Senator Franca Bernardine here with us. I know that your mom is Vincentian, so and other members of the NDC executive, including your youth. I see my friend Ali Dowden there, yes. Former Prime Minister and political leader of the NDC, and who I like to call a Caribbean trailblazer in free press efforts, Honorable Tilman Thomas, and his former First Lady, Mrs. Thomas. And I also would like to recognize our brothers who have joined us today on International Women's Day. Greetings to you all from the executive and members of my Democratic Republican Party of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the DRP SVG. Before I go into my presentation, which would primarily take the form of a PowerPoint show, I would like to thank the people of Grenada, including your Women's Arm, for your sympathy and solidarity with my country in the recent disaster we suffered in December 2013, where, as a result of a trough system and a lot of floods, we lost 9 lives, 9 confirmed deaths, and 3 persons are still missing. And we still have about 130 persons residing in shelters across the country. And work has just begun on refurbishing and reconstructing houses that were destroyed. And Grenada was one of the first Caribbean countries to respond when we suffered that disaster. And I'd like to thoroughly recognize your efforts, and on behalf of my people, to thank you very much. Okay? And I also wish to thank you, Madam President, for giving me this opportunity to address you here today. I count it a privilege. On your theme, I'll be addressing you on your theme, NDC Women Inspiring Change in Challenging Times. This is a very important topic. And I want to speak to you, and I will direct your attention to the PowerPoint above you. Are you able to see well? Yes? Okay. When we talk about women inspiring change in challenging times, there's a perspective I wish to share here today, and I also want to introduce you to a network of women of which I'm a member, and hope that, at some point, persons here could become members too. I want to say first of all that in order for you as women, for us as women, to inspire change in challenging times, we must first be inspired ourselves with certain foundational and core principles and values in our thoughts. You know, I'm speaking to the women's arm, primarily women's arm of a political party, and a political party is trying to get into government. But you as women, seeking to inspire change in your country, which is certainly facing challenging times, as the news would show, and other countries too, you must have certain principles in your mind that guide what you do, and that will help you to truly be an inspiration for change. I want to talk about these 2 points that you see on the slide. First of all, that all human beings have inalienable and inviolable rights and freedoms. You must believe this. Governance, political work is about the protection of the rights and freedoms of the people, which come from God and are inviolable. This is the only role of government. So you must believe that all of the people, everybody, including your opponents, have rights and freedoms that come from God and are not to be violated, and that the role of government is only to be the protectorate, or the one to protect these rights and freedoms which are God-given. The second President of the United States and the founding father thereof, John Adams, had this to say about the inalienableness of rights and freedoms. He said, and I quote, "You have rights antecedent to all earthly governments, rights that cannot be repealed or restrained by human laws, rights derived from the great legislator of the universe." It is imperative that government believe this, and in political work for governance, you must understand you are not put there to manage or trample upon the rights of the people. These rights were not given by you, they were given by God, and your sacred role is to protect them. You see, when we talk about inspiring change, the change must not be the kind which interferes with the God-given rights and freedoms of the people. It must be change which seeks to protect and strengthen protection for these rights and freedoms which were given by God. When we say rights are inviolable, we simply mean they ought not to be violated. Government's role is to protect the rights and freedoms of the people in every sphere of public life and governance, not to trample upon them, to manage them, or to take them away. And so the Americans declared in their Declaration of Independence, which was written primarily by Thomas Jefferson, 3rd President of the US, this is what they said. And I want you to listen carefully to these words. And I quote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal," including women, all of humanity are created equal, "that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed." Listen to this part carefully. "That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to effect their safety and happiness." End of quote. These principles must be your inspiration. That our role is to ensure that when we govern, we protect the inalienable rights and freedoms of the people. And that the people have a right, if we begin to move away from that, from protecting their rights and freedoms, to abolish us, and to change government, just like they have that right to do that today. This is very important. If you're going to inspire change, you must understand how it should be, how things should be, and you must understand what is wrong. So we want to examine some of that. And I will be speaking to you largely from the point of what we have seen happening recently, in particular in certain legislations in Grenada. So when we talk about women, and we see women inspiring change in challenging times, I want to address the challenge, or something that I identify as a challenge. New and old policy legislation which attack rights, inalienable human rights and freedoms. As women, we need to pay closer attention to the laws that are being passed in our countries. There are laws on our books from a long time ago, and there are laws that are being passed. They have provisions which are against the human rights and freedoms of our people. So I say that despite the fact that our democracies and republics in the West are generally free, and we use methods of electing governments that are democratic, what we are seeing is that rogue politicians are acquiring political office and threatening the freedom we enjoy through their policy legislative agenda. We have also inherited archaic and draconian rules from colonial times, which need repealing and reformation. Some have not been in use for many years, but their existence on our books remain a threat to inalienable rights and freedoms enjoyment. For example, seditious libel laws, which still remain on Grenada's and other Caribbean countries' criminal codes. In short, in the 1600s, these kind of laws, seditious libel laws, in short what it said is that it was a crime to make criticism of public persons, the government, or the king. Yes, you could go to jail, you could even die for criticizing the king and the government way back then. Why are such laws still on our books? We're talking about inspiring change. And then we have laws today which seem to take similar characteristics. But such laws, seditious libel laws, are very bad for free and modern democracies today. Another example, criminal libel laws. Essentially laws making it a crime, punishable by imprisonment, for speech which defames. Ideally, such an act should be tried in the civil court, let the offender pay a fine and apologize. But simply put, we shouldn't be sending people to jail for speech. Now I want to interject here and to say that the Honorable Tillman Thomas, your NDC's former leader and former Prime Minister, is to be praised for his efforts to reform when he abolished criminal libel from Grenada's criminal code, and he had publicly promised to go on to move seditious libel from your codes. He didn't get the opportunity to do it. But he is to be praised for it because when he did that, when he abolished criminal libel, he became the first Caribbean political leader to do so. And he was recognized by the International Press Institute, the IPI, for his progressive forward move in the region. Or that more regional governments would follow his action steps. You know what I call it? Action steps. Do something and not just talk. As I indicated to the IPI, it is my intention, if given the opportunity to become St. Vincent and the Grenadines' first woman Prime Minister, to follow Honorable Tillman Thomas and do the same very early in the life of my administration. inalienable rights and freedoms. You want to inspire change? Pay attention to what is happening with your laws. Pay attention to how they're impacting upon the rights and freedoms of your people. Let's talk about the recently passed Electronic Crimes Act of 2013, Sections 6, 16, and 25 in particular. Let me remind you that these sections threaten free speech and free press. They passed a threat. There was a threat of 100,000 EC fine and 1 year in prison, or 3 years, or both. There was a threat of abuse of police power in Section 25, which said an officer could arrest you without a warrant if he suspected that you had breached a section of the law. There was a, think about it, there was a threat of jail time. I'm putting it in these terms. Jail time and a fine for speech, which someone might find grossly offensive, causing annoyance, inconvenience, and insult. It encouraged thin-skinnedness in the people. It encouraged fear and self-censorship and stifled criticism. That is the effect it would have had. And criticism is a natural and necessary dimension of free speech. What are women supposed to do in the face of legislation like this? Now, I have been advised that a bill to amend the law was passed in your lower house on Thursday, I think it was, repealing or removing these sections that were complained about, and that it is yet to go to the Senate. Am I correct? Yes? And we wait with bated breath to ensure that it goes through all the processes and it gets the assent, the royal assent, and gazetted and everything, because, you know, with the evidence of recent times, we want to ensure that it goes all the way. We have to be very cautious. But yes, the challenge includes new and old legislation which attacks inalienable human rights and freedoms, and I've just given you some examples. So you want to inspire change. This is what I propose that you need to do to inspire change. 1, you need to advocate for the repeal of tyrannical sections of legislations. To do this, you must be vigilant about the legislative agenda of your government. Ladies, learn more about rights and freedoms and how laws affect them. Show greater interest in learning about these things in order for your response to be effective. You don't have to have a law degree. You don't have to go to law school. You don't have to be the greatest speaker of law. You need to know. Listen to me. While you are not paying attention, laws are being passed. While you are sleeping. And they're affecting your lives. They're affecting your children's lives. So you have to pay attention to the legal aspect of your country. And work with each other. You would have lawyers among you. You would have persons who sit in the parliament. In the Senate, for example. Let them come to you and tell you what is going on. What are the laws before us? How do they threaten us? Get your feedback, etc. This is very important. Consider the difference it would have made if there was no agitation and advocacy against Sections 6, 16, and 25 of the Electronic Crimes Act. Consider what could have happened. Consider the difference of the outcome had the alarm not been sounded. And I'm saying to you, to inspire change, you must sound the alarm. But to do so, you must educate yourselves of what is going on. You must be aware of how these things impact upon your lives, so you can sound the alarm, so you can speak up, so you can speak out about it. I would like at this juncture, I don't know if he's here, but I'd like at this juncture to give some recognition to Mr. Kem Jones' Eagle's Eye program, which provided an outlet for advocacy against the draconian portions of this law. Also, there's a Facebook page called Voice of the People Grenada. They also facilitated such advocacy. When the people speak out, Through the media, the world takes notice. The International Press Institute took notice. They called me up, they sent me emails, said, we heard a recording of you and Mr. Ken Jones, we want to interview you. You understand? So you have to do something, you have to speak up. Simple but effective tools can be used. Easy to learn and use. And I want to show you an example. This was a tract that was created, Grenada's thin-skinned legislation exposed. And it is just a simple book fold, but it was able to capture the essential points that we had concern about in the law, and to say what the problem is with these points, and to ask people to look at it and to speak out against it. And it could be spread electronically. I just passed out here, and I have some other copies. Ladies, you can do these things. You can learn how to do a book fold on PowerPoint on the computer. You know how effective this is when you go into a community and you're able to share out and give people and tell them, look, we have a law before us. It's threatening our rights and freedoms. We need to do something about it. And let them read and understand. This is how you inspire change. You inform yourself, you understand the principles that drive you, need to protect God-given rights and freedoms, and then you take practical measures like this, and you campaign, and you advocate, and you go out, and you give information, and you get people interested, and you put pressure on the government. It is necessary. Inspiring change, somebody said earlier, it's not just an event. I think it was Mrs. Burke. It's about being active, doing something, saying something. Are you understanding me? It is very important. So you must first be inspired through the knowledge of the foundation principles we discussed. And then there are simple, easy tools you can use. You have young women among you. The younger folks tend to be more into technology. You can take your little cameras, do little short videos, 5 minutes, 6 minutes. Just record a message, put it on Facebook, spread it around. These things are very impacting. And when I come down to a certain part of my presentation, I'll show you photos of young women who were involved in the revolution in Syria and Tunisia, whom I met, who used Facebook, for example, to put out messages and information and to advocate and to inspire change. Very important. So you have to advocate for the repeal of tyrannical sections of legislations. To do so, you must know what's going on and speak out about it. But there's another aspect of inspiring change which I also want to encourage. And it has to do with proposing amendments to laws to strengthen protection of inalienable human rights. In other words, something doesn't always have to be wrong first for you to speak out. You can also take the initiative to say, look, our laws don't protect our children who are abused enough. What can we propose? Senator Franco, you're in the Senate. What can we as women propose? Brother Nazimberg, you're a lawyer. What are other countries doing? Can we do comparative analysis of laws in other countries? Can we strengthen our laws? And as an opposition party, you can propose changes that strengthen the protection of your rights and freedom. And you can show that your government is waiting, because you're not waiting on them to do something wrong. You're taking initiative and saying, this is better. You understand? Very important. I want to thank you all very much for listening and for your time. And I wish you all God's blessing as you indeed endeavor to inspire change in these challenging times. God bless you.
Can we do the honors one more time? I am overwhelmed. Such food for thought, new ideas, exciting ideas, innovative ideas for our party. And I was just whispering to Sister Jenny, we were whispering to each other, we gotta get involved, we gotta get involved, we gotta get involved. Thank you so very much, Sister Baptiste. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. At this time, we'd like to invite Sister Baptiste, feature speaker, to please come. And I'd like to ask our president, Sister Jenny, to come and to make some presentations, give some remarks, and make some presentations. Thank you.
Hello again, Mr. Anesia. This bouquet, first of all, is to thank you. It's an appreciation for your deliverance here today. So you have it. This is the money. And Lady Teresa there has the 2 boxes that we have put together for us. Thank you again.
I want to thank you very much, Madam President, and your executive and your party. I am really grateful. I am really touched and happy and thankful to you for this contribution, and I know that the women will be grateful. Thank you very much.
Yes, my dear viewers and listeners, I hope you enjoyed the presentation I shared with the women of the NDC in Grenada, and I hope you recognize how we have been spreading our wings, how we have, by the work that I have been doing, Anesia Baptiste with the DRP, we have gained the recognition of others in the region, and they appreciate the kind of contribution I am making to politics and to the empowering of women in political work, a theme that is very important to a lot of organizations around the world who would like to see more women involved in politics around the world. And so as we celebrated International Women's Day, I had the honor of being able to share ideas with these women in Grenada about how women can be more involved in their countries in ensuring that politics is done correctly and the people are served. I would like to also thank the NDC Women's Arm for the contribution which they made to the relief efforts in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. When we come in our next program, we will discuss more of these things. Until that time, remember you may contact us at 528-1015. That's 528-1015. May God richly bless you. I'm Anesia Baptiste. Bye-bye for now.